This program is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised.
Hello, welcome to the Horrified Podcast. That's Michael Combs.
We have the fabulous Mike Martin over here.
Oh, fab. And then we've got Keith Clanton.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, y'all. How's your mama and them? What's everybody been up to?
We went painting.
We did go painting.
Yes.
Splash painting.
We splashed a canvas. We splashed several canvases and splashed each other. We had a really good time. Did you enjoy it?
It was a lot of fun.
It was.
Where did we go?
Painting Squared.
Painting Squared. You guys can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Facebook. They're located in Gallatin, Tennessee. This is not a paid endorsement. We just had a lot of fucking fun over there, you guys. So
Yeah, so if you ever, happen to find yourself in
Gallatin.
G-Town, go on over and see them.
yeah, they're on the square. It's super easy to find.
Have we seen any movies?
Yes,
We all saw Cocaine Bear.
We did.
we loved Cocaine
We did
Bear.
love
We did.
I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this out there. Margot Martindale deserves an Oscar.
She was so good.
She was good. What else did you like about the movie?
I liked everything about the movie.
Everything?
I did. The casting was perfect.
I'll be honest, going into it, that I forgot that it happened in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so when they started talking about Knoxville, I was like, what? Wait, because it was Knoxville, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved it. I thought it was really funny. And it was pretty brutal, too.
The kills were very brutal.
It was a lot more graphic than honestly I was expecting
Yeah.
going into
It was
it.
a lot of campy fun. I love some campy fun.
And
Yeah.
I loved, because, what year was it? It was in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I loved, all of the music. I thought it was great.
Yeah, the soundtrack was really good.
But yeah, all the characters were pretty likable. I didn't have a character that I didn't that I couldn't stand.
Well, I had one.
Well,
I had one character that I couldn't stand. The one little boy.
The skinny one?
Yeah, the skinny one that was taking them to where the cocaine was.
oh, see, he didn't bother me.
He bothered me because I was like, y'all, in what world would you be scared of him? He is not threatening at all.
True.
Pretty sure he sucked a dick or two as well.
Oh,
but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I won't get that deep in my review, but because I was on the same page as that too as I was watching it. But
So what would you give it?
4 out of 5.
Oh, 4 to 5.
Same.
I almost feel like I would have rated it more than a 4 out of, because I just thought the dialogue was so funny. I'd probably give it a 4.25 out of 5.
It's always got to outdo us.
That's key.
I just think it was really good. That's all. And that's all I have to say about it. We are back today with episode 7 of our queer horror series. We'd love for y'all to follow along with us, so please be sure to give this season's movie listing a peep over at the Horrified Podcast on Instagram. Now comes to the spell. Let's talk about Hellraiser.
Somewhere beyond the light and the dark, beyond our secret desires and deepest fears, lies the door beyond all our limits.
We have such sights to show you.
Hellraiser, there are no limits.
Hellraiser was written and directed by Clive Barker based on his novel The Hellbound Heart and released in 1987. Starring Doug Bradley, Ashley Laurence, Clare Higgins, Andrew Robinson, among others. Michael, kick us off.
Yes, sir. So,
Ooh, I like it when you call me sir.
the movie opens on a guy in a Moroccan market. He purchases a puzzle box, which we later find out is a Lament Configuration. He opens the puzzle box and chains come out of thin air and pierce his flesh, tearing him apart. The movie then goes to a couple, Larry and Julia, moving from New York City to a flat in England. During the move-in, we find out Larry's daughter, Kirsty, from his first marriage, is also in England. During the move-in, Larry cuts his hand open. Going to Julia, who is in the attic, he asks her to help bandage his wound. His blood drips on the floor. His blood resurrects a skinless Frank, who is the guy from the beginning of the movie. Later that evening, Julia goes into the attic and stumbles upon the ghoulish Frank. She does not know it's Frank until he starts talking to her. He gets her to agree to help him become whole again. Julia then goes to bars and lures men home with the intention of sex, but leads them to the attic and lets Frank drain their blood and their life force. Each victim leads to Frank regenerating his body.
Okay, so let's talk about the beginning of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about the opening?
Just all the way
Very
up to
hot and sweaty.
It looks very hot and sweaty. Yes, that's true.
I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I mean, I did think that Frank was a babe.
Frank is a babe.
Mm-hmm.
Frank is 100% a babe. I'll be honest, at the beginning of the movie, does it actually show him? It doesn't really show everything. It just shows the chains, right? It doesn't show his body. You see the aftermath.
You see the aftermath. You see pieces of him on the floor, and then they put his face together like a puzzle.
Correct. Okay, yeah. So you don't actually see...
You just see the hooks go in his face.
Yes. So it's kind of like one of those, like it's an understanding. Like, oh, okay, this is what happened to him, right? I didn't take a lot of notes about the beginning of the movie, but the one thing I did say is when Frank is sitting there with the gentleman, they're drinking tea, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that guy picks up those sugar cubes. Did anybody else notice how fucking dirty his fingernails were?
They were disgusting. They were so gross.
All I know is, bitch, get your fingers off my sugar cubes. I can do it myself.
Yeah.
That's what I would have thought. I don't care what you got for me, like what kind of arrangement we got going on. No,
There
don't
was
touch my
so
sugar
much
cubes.
dirt under those fingernails.
It was gross.
He could have potted a plant.
He could have potted a plant, but you know what? He needed to clean his damn fingernails out before he gives me some sugar cubes. That's all I got to say.
Southerners and their sweet tea.
Yeah, exactly. But, like you were saying, this is in London? Did you say London?
It opens in like a Moroccan
Right.
market, and then it goes to London.
I had no idea this took place in London.
Honestly,
I did.
I didn't either.
I thought it was just like New York or something.
Oh, no, it was just the way they talked. I don't know. To me, it was pretty obvious that they were...
Oh, okay, pretty obvious. I'm a fucking dumbass.
I don't know why it was obvious to me.
I don't know.
Because at one point, she says, I don't know, she says something about it could be worse. We could be living in Brooklyn. I don't know, because then it made me think.
Well, I
that
do
they
feel like
moved from Brooklyn or New York City to London.
I do feel like they make mention of some London places or something periodically.
Well, you can tell that Julia is British.
Well, Julia's fancy. Yes. Julia. I never got that. I just thought it was in like a city somewhere
Maybe
else.
I'm wrong. That's what I understood, though.
I don't know. I mean, what do we think about that house?
I mean, it could be pretty if it was cleaned up and fixed up.
Here's my thing. This is why I feel like it's not in London. It was their childhood home.
Well, that's true. I didn't even
Right?
think about
And
that.
Frank and Larry were obvious. They're American.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe they were raised in London. I'm not 100% sure, but the way that I took it is they were moving into Larry's childhood home. Because Frank still owned the property, to my understanding, and then, of course, he went missing.
Well, I thought it was like a shared thing, right?
Yeah, like
'cause
the
he
parents
said that-
died, and
Because
they
he's like,
probably-
Frank would never let us sell the place or
Yeah.
whatever.
And it almost I almost got the impression that maybe Frank was living there for the time being, and then he's been missing for all this time.
Yeah.
So then they thought, well, it's just sitting there, and I want to honor my brother and not sell it, and so let's just move into it.
Well, you guys are right. I just looked it up.
Oh,
The book was set in England.
Okay.
And when they made the movie, they moved it to America. Even though you can fucking tell it's England. To
Oh.
me, you can tell it's shot in England because it was filmed in England.
But it doesn't say where in America. It just
No.
It doesn't say what city.
No. Sorry, people.
I bet it's
was
Shelbyville.
It's Shelbyville, Tennessee. That's exactly. I've seen that house in Shelbyville before.
I mean,
But it doesn't even look like an American house to me. That's why I initially thought it was set in England.
I feel like it resembles like some like almost like old Victorian houses or something.
I
Like
mean,
the house in like Charmed.
well, maybe I'm just
kinda-
not like cultured enough to like that. Just looks like an old house to me.
Well, and how long has it been sitting?
Yeah, they don't mention how long Frank's been missing, right?
Right.
Or do they?
I don't.
Did they even know that Frank was kind of squatting there?
Well, no, I don't think they do because
No.
Larry makes the comment about he says something like, "Oh, I mean, hell, Frank could be in jail right now." Like,
Yeah, they
so it
haven't
just
heard
seems
from
like they
Frank in
haven't
a
heard
while.
from him, but it's not like they're necessarily worried about him. It doesn't seem like
That's just normal Frank behavior.
right.
Yeah, but then you also see like the mattress. I think there's a mattress on the floor or something. So obviously somebody's been living there, and I guess at that point they just assume it's squatters.
Well,
right.
she says that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
But then they realize it is Frank
because of the pictures.
because of the pictures.
what do we think about Larry and Julia? Are they likable characters? Like from the get,
I
like,
have to be-
obviously I'm talking like beginning. Don't
Yeah.
think about what comes next. But like initially, do you like Larry and Julia?
I think Julia comes off as very icy and cold
Yes.
and unhappy in the beginning, and Larry's upbeat and positive. That doesn't really answer your question, but
Well, they don't seem like a happy couple.
no.
Well,
Maybe
take that
they-
back.
he
seems
seems
happy.
yeah.
She is not.
She does not seem happy.
But of course, so I mean, in the beginning, sure, I kind of just felt like Larry was like a likable dad.
Yes.
Like that's just kind of the vibe.
almost like a cool dad. Because like later on when Kirsty comes, like they obviously have a very close relationship, you know. So when they're going through the house and they start looking through some of, I'm assuming, Frank's things, we see like photos and
Some provocative
Risque.
photos.
some provocative photos. So from the get-go, I think, okay, Frank is a big old pervert, right? Maybe a little voyeuristic.
I was
which
like-
kind of plays into the movie, but I feel like he's a little voyeuristic.
We don't judge people on this channel.
No, we don't. But I am going to call him a perv.
I just thought that he was very sexual and
Yes.
very. I mean, I didn't.
Maybe has a sex addiction.
I mean,
Maybe.
clearly he's
I
got.
was going to say he's got like trading cards. It looks like it's a trading
Of
card
all the
book
women
full
he's
of-
bedded.
Yeah, yeah. And they've got like some of them, I believe, had masks on in the photos.
Well,
and
that's where
it's
we
like,
find out that Julia slept
with
with
him.
him.
We start
because
getting
she pulls the picture out.
those flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the flashbacks don't happen until moving day, right?
Yes.
So moving day, I don't know. There, at one point when Julia, and I wrote this in my notes, when Julia is talking to the movers, they kind of look her up and down, and she totally is like eating it up. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
likes it. So
Yeah.
to me, no, I had seen this movie before, obviously, but if I were watching it for the first time, I would think, oh, that bitch knows exactly what she's doing. She likes the attention. And then I think, well, is Larry not giving you attention? But he seems to be very
Attentive.
into her.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously there's something lacking.
Oh, well, for sure. Like, I think
know?
that, I mean, I just think she's unhappy in her marriage. I think that she obviously wanted to be with Frank.
She's
and,
kinky.
You know.
She wants to be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Adventurous.
Yes, sexually adventurous. Where I could totally see Larry
Being vanilla.
being just so boring. And
Yeah.
But loving.
yes, but loving and caring. Did you think it was weird that they offered the movers beer?
No.
No, I feel like I do that.
What?
No, I don't think that was weird at
I'm
all.
sorry. If somebody was moving my shit, I would not be offering them a beer.
Even for, like, your friends?
Not while we're moving stuff.
Oh, shit. I mean,
No, I didn't
moving
find that
party.
weird at all.
Moving party for me is pizza and beer.
I'll give you beer after you move my shit.
Oh. That doesn't bother me.
Okay, well, I just was something I don't know. Maybe I'm too.
I mean, unless they're like, planning on getting fucking shitty drunk and
Well, that's what I'm
driving,
saying.
but
they didn't know these people. These weren't friends of theirs.
No, they were
movers they
hired movers. Yeah.
So it's a little different. I don't know.
Well, he asked for beer too. They didn't offer it.
Does he ask for a beer?
I'm pretty sure he asked for
Well,
beer.
I
Do
would
you
have
have
said
any beer?
abso-fucking-lutely not. You can drink a beer when you're finished moving my grand piano or whatever. So that is when we do get some flashbacks of Julia meeting Frank. Frank showing up to their house, and he introduces himself for the first time, and it's almost like right away they kind of just, hey, how you doing? Let's fuck. Like, it's really quick, right?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Frank is very suave.
I would have. Like, I mean, he showed up at that front door soaking wet
He was
and
wet.
just beautiful.
And Julia was wet, too.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, I mean, I don't blame you, girl. I mean, now I don't know.
Well, at this point, too, I feel like we never really know how long Julia and Larry are married. So is this like a
We
new
know it's
thing?
a second marriage, though.
We know
'cause
it's a second
Kirsty's
marriage.
mom's dead.
Right,
We find out.
but I feel like we don't know, like, how long have they been
Yeah.
married? Obviously she comes in later to the picture because her
Yes.
and Kirsty aren't very close. So I almost thought maybe they married maybe when Kirsty was a teenager, and so they didn't really have a lot of time to bond.
Yeah.
And then she moved, went to college, all that stuff. So maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years, maybe not. I don't know. That's just kind of the vibe that I got.
And I mean, why at this point, like, obviously, if you think just in general, like, her and Larry's married by now. I mean, would Frank, like, why is she just meeting his brother?
Well,
I feel like they're kind of estranged.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of goes out, does what he wants.
Yeah.
Right.
He just disappears for months
he'll
at a
just
time.
disappear, and Larry's like, kind of like you said at the beginning. It's kind of, that's Frank. Disappears.
I just think, did they have a wedding and your brother didn't?
I feel like they probably did. And
Come
just
on, of course
Frank-
they did. It's
Frank
Julia
was-
we're talking about. They had a wedding. They had a wedding.
But
And Frank
Frank
was off doing his sadomasochism thing somewhere else. So.
Yeah, he was busy taking photos for a calendar.
Yeah.
And Frank is very aggressive when they meet, and he finger bangs her in the mouth, which is a common theme you see throughout the rest of the movie. Fingers in mouths, but that's what he does to her, right? And then he lays her down on the bed that her wedding dress is just
Laying on.
just happens to be on, and they essentially fuck on top of her wedding
I
dress.
wonder if that was their way of letting us know that her and Larry haven't been together or married that long.
that long. It
Yeah.
could. That's a good.
Because, like,
point.
if her wedding dress is still fresh on the bed,
maybe they just got
clearly they haven't been married very long.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't really dive in much into the relationship, which I would like. How long did they date before they married? Like, was this just quick? I don't know. It's hard to say.
I don't know. I did think it was, like, an interesting, like, the way that they shot the whole scene where, him and her are having sex or whatever, and the nail. Mm-hmm. Like, I just thought that was funny. Like, you're getting nailed, and you're being like, they keep like, well, I mean, they just kept like showing like the grunting and the motions of like him trying to get this fucking bed or couch or whatever it was like through.
It was really hard
And-
for them to get
yeah,
that
and it was that I
mattress.
felt like that's what they were trying to get across.
That's true.
Yes.
Don't you think? I mean, I think I would have noticed that nail. It wasn't.
It was
I mean, it
sticking
was
out
out
far.
all the way,
Yeah.
and I feel like a nail that long wouldn't cut your hand like that because you'd probably just pull it out of the banister.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking the
How long
literally
is that nail?
the tip of the nail is probably the only thing left in there.
Yes,
So,
that's true.
and it like ripped his whole fucking hand.
It
It
did.
ripped it up. Yeah.
Bad. And then I feel like, so when he goes upstairs to the room Julia's in, right? Which I thought for a while it was an attic, but I think it's just a empty bedroom, right? Because it seems like it's across the hall from some other doors. So at first I thought it was an attic, but I think it's just an empty room. But he goes in there. And then I think to myself, could you not have bandaged that yourself? Like, do you need her
Well,
that
he did
bad?
say You know how I am about blood.
Yeah, he doesn't like blood.
Oh, that's right. He
Yeah.
doesn't like blood. Well, good thing he doesn't have to see it because it disappears as soon as it lands on the
It
floor.
soaks right into that.
Like, did
those
y'all not
hardwoods.
notice that? Because it looked like he was bleeding a lot, and then there's just none on the floor.
Those
Because our
hardwoods
Frank's
are
thirsty
thirsty.
ass underneath the floor is sucking it all up, I guess.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting because when it goes underneath the floor and you see, really you only see his heart and then just
Other
some-
pieces or something.
Yeah, like,
I love that scene though. I love the practical effects.
well,
of
the
that whole
practical
thing.
the practical effects in this movie, period, are really good, except, I guess, because he's like nothing but a heart. And I'm like, okay, help me understand how he's being reborn from just a heart. You know, because later on, he obviously forms into like some form of human. It's gross and fleshy and muscly and bones and stuff. But I get it. It's a movie. I'm not supposed to understand it because Cenobites aren't real.
I mean, we kind of glossed over this. We didn't even really talk too much about Kirsty, but
Well, we haven't. I don't think at this point she's not come yet.
on moving day,
She does show up on moving day, but I think it's after the fact, right?
after
She
her dad's
calls.
hand,
Isn't it after her dad's hand? I don't know. At some point, Kirsty shows up.
There's a dinner.
Well, yes, there is a dinner. So I know that this scene goes into like the dinner party, and it's her, and then they've got other friends that are there. So obviously they know people that live there.
Yeah.
This isn't unknown territory.
Right.
But they do have a dinner party. And Kirsty is eye fucking the guy across from her, right?
Steve.
Yeah.
Do we like Kirsty?
Oh, I love Kirsty.
You do like Kirsty.
I love Kirsty.
Kirsty's actually on Michael's
Final-
top 5 final girl. So,
Yes.
that
I
was
actually like her in Hellraiser 2 better, but
Okay.
I do love Kirsty.
okay.
I wanted to like her, like when she first like comes in to play, but I don't know. I didn't really like her, and I mean, I get like her and Julia's dynamic is supposed to be kind of like tense, yeah, but I just felt like maybe she could have tried a little bit harder. Like,
See, I kind of thought that too, but then watching it this go around, I think, well, maybe she's being cautious because she just does not trust Julia. You know, and if they did get married really fast, that would probably, you know, set a light bulb off in my head,
well,
too.
if they got married fast, and like if Julia started this affair with Frank almost instantly, then she's probably disconnected from Larry pretty quickly.
True.
And Larry's daughter, who's obviously a teenager, is gonna pick up on a vibe. Like, because if you don't act like a happily newly married couple, then kids pick up on that shit.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Kirsty's been in college. Is she back home? Or has she graduated college?
I feel like she's there for a visit.
Yeah,
I can't
know
remember if she's there for a visit.
Oh,
or
I
she's
think they
moved
do
back.
say something about her being home from college, actually.
Yeah, I
That-
know she's home from college, but again, to your point, like we don't know how long they've been married. So,
Right.
and in the flashback scene, you know, Julia does have. I mean, her hair's not like super long or anything, but there's a clear difference in her hair, like the length of her hair and the style of it.
So there's been some time.
yeah,
between-
so there's been some time since she got her new.
She
cool
just gave me
haircut.
like very like Flowers in the Attic vibes.
Kirsty.
No, Julia.
Oh, I was like, okay.
I mean, obviously there's contention between the two because Julia doesn't even want to stay with them. She got a room. So there is something.
Yeah, she wanted to
There.
stay by herself.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, because I think even Larry's like, you could just stay here. And she's like, no, I got a really nice hotel.
Yeah.
Well, and just those scenes where like Julia's at the top of the stairs, like looking down on her, and like they just kind of stare at each other, but they don't really say anything, and it just feels
It's awkward.
it's awkward.
But then also, like, I think Kirsty got a room so she could take Steve home and have her way with him.
Well, she didn't know Steve was going to be in the
Oh,
picture
she knew.
until
She knew. You
later.
think she didn't know there was going to be a dinner party with Steve? First of all, who does Steve belong to, and why is he at this dinner party? Is his parents
I
there
am
as well?
confused now that I think about this. She has to live there. She's working at a pet store.
well, she gets a job while she's visiting home so I think she's home
For a while.
for a break. Or
So this is like
whatever.
a summer job.
So I think this is a summer job for her. Yeah.
That's flashing forwards, but
Yes, that is. Yes. So Julia obviously retires early from this dinner party, right, and goes upstairs.
and she hears a noise.
Yeah. Do you think she retired? Do you think she was really feeling bad, or do you think she did that on purpose?
Oh, I thought she did it on purpose.
Yeah, definitely did on purpose.
Yeah, expecting Frank.
Had she met Frank at this point? No, she hadn't met Frank at this point. Because she retired. In my notes, I have that she hears something I have dinner, then she hears something upstairs and goes into that room.
See, I almost felt like maybe she had like a inkling that maybe Frank was still hiding out there or something.
Oh, I got you. Maybe.
So
She definitely
that
was
was her like
obsessing
excuse
over
to
Frank.
leave to like maybe
Investigate.
Let's see if he's here. You know what I mean? That's just.
Then she
my
finds a
take
different
on it.
form of Frank.
But I don't know. But she does, and she's truly terrified when she sees him up there too, right? Like
Yes.
he's
Well, who the hell wouldn't?
Yeah.
I mean,
gross.
God.
Frank ain't so cute no more.
No. Well, it's also
Don't
not
look
the
at
same
me.
actor, but that's fine. So, but like he literally looks like the dead dad animated character in Coco. Like that's like who he looks
I
like.
haven't seen Coco.
Oh, well, never mind.
He looks
Okay.
like ground beef and
He looks terrible.
I mean, he's gross. Like
Yeah.
he's just oozing. And
And
of course,
goopy.
like you were
Ugh.
saying, he was saying he's like he needs more, right, to
Yeah.
like come back. There's one part. So this is when Kirsty's, I guess, leaving the dinner, or maybe she's going to the restroom. I can't remember.
yes.
But Julia's at the top of the stairs, and they kind of have a moment. And I thought, are you about to take Kirsty up there? Because Kirsty's drunk,
I
right?
think she probably was.
thinking
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I thought
Okay.
and there were a few times that I thought I was like, Kirsty's gonna get it because she's gonna be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and because then I almost thought too there was a few times where I was like, oh, is she gonna like bring Larry like up there?
Yeah.
But because I was like, what was it? Because since it was Larry's blood that obviously brought Frank back, I thought maybe it had something to do with the bloodline.
the
So
relationship, yeah.
that was kind of
Oh.
like,
Being brothers.
So maybe she thought if she brought, like, it would work quicker.
Yeah.
Or something. Because, it does. I mean, we'll get to it in a little bit, but it takes a few.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like we still really don't ever see him in his
Yeah.
complete form, right? So
No, you don't.
what do we think about Steve as a character?
Ugh.
Because,
I mean,
I think-
forgettable.
yeah, I was going to say, I think he's a nice little love interest for Kirsty, but aside from that, I mean, he really only pops up, like, well, at her place, right? Because they go home and they make out
They
in
go for a walk.
disgusting
They make
bus
out
station.
in the subway. Yeah.
And then he shows up at the end, and I'm like, cool, bro.
Right.
Like, what do you, okay.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like he's just kind of. I guess we had to have somebody for Kirsty, I guess, but
Yeah. To me, honestly, like, out of everybody in this movie, he's probably, like, my least favorite character. Because, like,
Yeah.
he served no purpose.
And she doesn't really need anyone to help her. She's pretty capable on her own.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and we'll get into all that later, but she's keen onto what's going on. Like she's figures shit out.
So Julia tells Frank that she will help him.
She does.
And we find out what that help entails.
What does it entail?
Her picking up men at bars and luring him back to the house.
Did she not look like she just looked so 1980s real estate mogul
She looked
when
powerful.
she was at the bar,
and-
didn't she?
yeah.
she looked very 1987 Reba Whoever's a New England video.
Shut up.
Like that's like what it looked like. Her hair and then those big glasses.
Wonder if that's where this house is, New England.
It could be.
I'd say that's a happy median for us thinking it was America
yes.
and England. Let's
New
just say
England,
it's
that
New
Let's go
works.
with
England.
New England, yeah.
Let's just go with New England.
The house was
Works.
in New England.
So she does pick up a guy and brings him home.
She does.
I felt bad for that guy until he was like got pissed that he didn't think he was getting sex, and I was like, I don't care what happens to you now.
I literally in my notes wrote, I oh, poor guy, he's actually nice. And then the next line said, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
That's all my
That's
notes
exactly
says.
how
Never
I
mind.
felt.
Because
Exactly
he
how I felt.
does. He was like,
He turned on a dime.
yeah. Like, and he did for real. There for a minute, he seemed genuinely interested in her, and like he was a nice guy. Like, he doesn't do this very often, but he was attracted to her. And then it's like, what are we doing? You know?
He says,
Well,
not
he
gonna-
literally
you're
says-
not going to change your fucking mind, are you?
Right. And has her like pushed up against the wall and
Yeah.
shit.
And then I didn't care what happened to him. I was like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and then Julia gets her hammer, her little nifty hammer.
She loves a hammer.
I was gonna say this movie does a lot of like imagery with hammers and nails and
Yes. Well,
pins and his head.
well, I mean, it's Hellraiser.
It makes sense. Carpentry and
right.
Cenobite.
Yeah. She takes that hammer and nails him on the head hard.
And then kind of
Well, she wanted to make
rips
sure she
off-
got the job done.
yes.
and
True.
then rips off kind of his bottom lip or something.
Yeah.
He
Does
turns
she?
around
Oh, and so she gets him.
and she gets him.
Got it.
Right on the mouth.
Yeah.
Because it basically takes his whole jaw out.
I like how Frank, when he's, I don't know, eating these people or whatever he's doing with them, he never wants Julia to
Don't
stand
look
there.
at me.
Yeah, he's like, don't look at me.
Yeah.
And it's almost like she wants to look. Like, she really wants to look because she lingers. And every time this happens, she lingers. It's almost like she enjoys it, but he's telling her not to, so then she leaves.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things where, especially like things like that pique your interest, and it's like you can't help but want to watch, but you also know that you probably should not be watching this.
Yeah.
Like, because she looks terrified all the time.
Yes, she does. Well, and I think this is the first time Frank says, come to daddy. And I
loves
can't
to say
remember in
that.
what context he says it.
I have it in my notes too, though. That is the first time.
It's the first time, and it's also the first time that they mention the Cenobites.
Yes.
So I guess
I want to
Frank
be away
mentions the
from here
Cenobites.
before
They come and get
for
me or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, and then she says who, and he's talking about that. Okay,
Cenobites,
got it.
yeah.
So after that, we cut to Kirsty's summer job that you already talked about, the pet store.
And the pet store.
I just have to ask, what fucking pet store carries monkeys? Is there not a monkey? The very first scene is a monkey, is it not?
Screaming, yeah.
Yes.
And then you realize she's in a pet store.
This is
I don't
an
know about
exotic
y'all,
pet store.
but I have never seen a monkey at a pet store because I can guarantee you, if I had, I'd have one at home right now. Never.
I've never seen a pet store with a monkey.
I
either.
just thought, okay, well, that's really all I got for that scene.
Well, I think we
And
should
then
note from that scene there is a homeless guy
Yeah.
there's a homeless guy.
that we saw briefly earlier.
Yes, he's watching
And
her.
he will come up later in the movie, but he comes in and starts eating grasshoppers or
I
crickets.
think it's crickets. Yeah. And
Literally
they're-
just an armful.
Ew, and they're
Yeah.
all in his beard.
Oh, God.
And the noise, the
Yeah.
crunch, and
Y'all
yeah.
have never eaten a cricket?
I've eaten a grasshopper.
I haven't eaten any of that shit, and I won't.
Me
So-
either.
Oh,
Why have you eaten a grasshopper?
fourth grade, where I grew up.
Story
fourth
time.
and fifth grade were in one school,
Uh-huh.
like one building.
Remind everybody where you grew up.
I grew up in a very small town called Glasgow, Montana, which is literally the middle of nowhere.
And they eat
They did a
grasshoppers.
survey. It's the middle of nowhere. And
Who did a survey?
the Washington Post,
And they called.
Glasgow, Montana, the middle of nowhere,
Okay.
because we are the farthest from any like place to go shopping.
I
Got
think
it.
they did a test like that for Shelbyville, and it was bumfuck Egypt.
Yeah. So
We are the walking horse capital of
Capital.
the world. So
You got
get your shit
something.
together. Oh,
they called us all to the gymnasium. We all went down there, and there was these people there, and it was kind of like a survival thing. And we fried up the back of grasshoppers with onions and peppers, and we all had to eat them. It was disgusting.
okay. But if it's a survival, where the hell are you gonna get these?
I don't know.
onions
I
and
can
peppers?
still smell that. It was gross. It was
So you didn't like it?
disgusting. No.
What it
was-
tastes like?
I have a phobia of grasshoppers because of that whole thing. Like, I hate
Really?
grasshoppers. Oh yeah, they creep me out.
Well, they do like jump
Yeah,
out of nowhere,
and
and,
they
you'll
kind
be
of
like, "Oh shit."
If they get on you, they sometimes spit. Nope.
Okay, but what did
nope.
it taste like?
Gross. It was disgusting.
Like you shouldn't have been eating
Dirt.
grasshoppers.
Dirt. Mud. It was gross.
So basically, what you're telling me is to sneak one into your.
We also had
Caesar
to
salad.
clean them, though. That was the thing. We had to clean them. So they were whole grasshoppers. We had to take
the head off, right?
their head off. So you had the thorax, and then no,
Oh,
it was
no.
gross.
I didn't even want to dissect in school.
Oh, honey, I did.
I did not.
Oh my God, y'all, we dissected. So we did frogs at some point, but I feel like when I was a freshman or sophomore, maybe a sophomore, we did pigs. Oh my God, PETA, I'm sorry. Look, I had to do this for a grade. This was a long time ago, but we had to do like a pig. Like
We did a pig,
a
too.
small pig, and we had to like cut it open, and then it was on the tray, and then our professor would come around and say, okay, can you point out X, Y, and Z? And we pointed out. And when we were finished, he said if we wanted to, he could give us, what's the fluid?
Embalm?
Formaldehyde or whatever.
Is it? I don't know, but, you could put it in a jar. That way, if you wanted to take any, like, you could.
Formaldehyde.
Like, you could take it home. Like, I don't remember anybody doing that, but I just remember he said, like, whatever, like, if you want to look up some other stuff that you're not required to, like, feel free. And I took my scalpel because I was determined to get the brain out, and I just like stabbed it into the head, and some of the brain like spurted out, and then I was like, okay, then I'm good. And I didn't do anything else after that because it was so nasty, and I feel so bad for that poor piggy. I like to think that maybe
Poor Miss Piggy.
he donated his body to science. But anyway, let's move on.
On that note,
Let's move on.
God, all that from crickets.
I know. So creepy thin man eating crickets. Okay. So then we go on to victim number 2.
victim 2.
Victim 2. And really, it's all the same shit, right?
A hammer to the head.
It's-
Hammer to the head.
It's all the same shit. But let me ask you this. What was the point in Frank wearing clothes? Because, the second time, this is when we see he's in
Yeah.
clothes. And it's like I feel like it's a button down. I can't remember for sure. But it's covered in blood, obviously. Because he is nothing but blood and muscle and tissue and whatever. Like, why you got a shirt on?
Yeah, what are you trying to cover up?
Like,
Maybe to feel more human. I don't know.
I don't know. I just thought that part was really weird. Like, why you need
I mean,
why
maybe he
you
was
need to
trying to like, because I mean, obviously he doesn't want Julia to see him. So it makes me wonder if maybe he's
Oh.
putting the clothes on to
Yeah.
like keep her from seeing from being like scared of him.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true.
And it's at this point that
I mean, that's really deep diving into my thinking about this.
I think
but
that's I think
I was
that's
going to say, I
probably
just thought
true.
maybe he didn't want the rats eating him. I don't know, y'all.
And at this point, Frank smokes a cigarette and says he can taste it.
Yes,
So
he's gotten his
getting
taste buds
nerves
back.
are firing back up. And he can start,
and doesn't he say something about his nerves? He could feel pain or something
yes.
at one point. Mm-hmm. So
Well, and this is, of course, when we know about the cube.
Yes.
He mentions the cube, and then we get a flashback of him, right?
hanging upside down, that flashback,
Is it him hanging upside down?
the one of him spinning.
It's a flashback, and all I've got is pain and all I got in my notes is pain and pleasure.
I
think
don't
it's
have that in my notes. I have rats nailed to the wall.
Yeah, no, that's well,
Yeah,
yes,
I
but
think
that's later. So I think this flashback, I don't think it shows everything, but I think maybe he's explaining
What happened
very
to him?
briefly what happened, but it's almost like the way that I took it is he actually like he could have gotten off on it, like he didn't hate it,
Oh, I think that
right?
100% what
Yeah.
I got from that.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's kind of what it was kind of his demise or whatever, but I don't think that he hated it
No, he did. He liked it until
until
He was
he
torn
was no
apart.
more.
yes.
So the next thing in my notes really confuses me. It says boxing. Were they watching boxing at some point?
Yes. It was Julia and Larry, and
They
he
were
was
watching
Skinner?
boxing.
he was talking about you don't normally like watching this.
Oh, that's
Oh, and she said,
right.
I've seen worse.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that's true. I've seen worse. Okay. So I know at this point, this is really the only time we ever see Larry and Julia come close to having sex, because he's trying to go upstairs and she's trying to keep him from going upstairs, right? So then she tries to like lay it on thick.
Well, and the reason they're going up there is because they heard
A noise.
Yes.
a noise.
Yes.
And Larry's like, well, I want to go look at it and see what it is. And she
Julia
tells
says
him,
it's rats or something.
or she says she
Yes.
left a window open upstairs.
Yes.
Yes. Well, and that's where we see the rats
On the
Nailed to
wall.
nailed to the wall, because I put in my notes, Frank's been playing with the rats.
Yes.
So of course you have that, but then they do go to the bedroom, right? They go to the bedroom,
Yes.
and then Frank comes out of the closet and
Mm-hmm.
he's watching them, and that's where I'm like, okay, this is kind of voyeuristic a little bit, because to be honest, Frank didn't seem like he was bothered by them. He almost seemed to like it, right?
Oh yeah. Frank's kinky. He
Yeah,
likes it all.
I mean, yes, but we also like, we have had those moments with Frank and Julia, even with Frank looking like this, where he's made those comments to Julia about like, essentially talking about how you're not in love with him, kind of things. So like, I think that might have played a part into why Frank was like, I'm gonna kill Larry.
yeah, because she starts saying no,
Yeah.
no.
Because, like,
Yeah, she does.
I don't think that he wanted to see Larry with her.
Yeah, but see,
And that's his brother.
true. But then I also get the feeling at the end that he did not give a fuck about Julia. He was
No.
using her, right? So, and we'll get to that later. But that's
Frank is
what makes me
self-serving.
think, like, I don't know, maybe. Well, obviously he couldn't have sex with her yet, so maybe he was kind of getting off on it.
Yeah, his
Right.
penis hadn't regenerated yet.
Oh my god! Ooh, could you imagine what it looked like?
No. I'm
Ew.
glad.
Ground hamburger.
I mean, at
Ew.
this point, he had pants on, right?
Yeah, he had a full-on outfit on. And I guess before
And he loved a switchblade.
He did love a
He did.
switchblade.
That was his favorite. That's his go-to. But before we go into Michael, your next spiel, I think this is pretty much where all of that information ends. We're pretty much left with a father-daughter date.
Yeah, they go out to dinner.
Larry and Kirsty, and he's telling her like maybe to try a little harder.
Give Julia a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe bond with her a little bit, and she actually.
Tries.
She
Or-
said, yeah, she says okay.
She's like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
So Larry convinces Kirsty to go see Julia to work on their relationship. On her way to see Julia, she sees Julia bringing a guy into the house. Julia does her usual attic trick. Kirsty is confronted by a bloody, partially skinless Frank, and he says his line, "Come to daddy," and attacks her. She manages to evade him and hide. She then eventually escapes with the puzzle box. Walking the streets in shock, she later wakes up in the hospital. She opens the puzzle box, creating a passageway in the wall. She's attacked by some creature, and then the Cenobites show up. And about to be taken away, she tells him Frank has escaped and she can prove it. The Cenobites agree that if she can prove Frank escaped, and he admits it, they will take him instead of her. I don't think I would go I don't think I'd go in some passageway that opened in some wall, but that's just me. But
I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff in this movie that I probably wouldn't just do.
red flags all over the place.
But I don't know. I guess if Frank was on the other end of the passageway, maybe.
Oh, you would do it? Well, okay, so whenever she brings that third victim home and Kirsty's watching, would you not go in? I would. I'd be like, no, hold on a damn minute. Who's this man going into my daddy's house?
Well, she tries
she
to go
does
in,
go in.
right?
She does absolutely go in. But I'm just saying, would you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, if it was my parents.
girl, let's just. As soon as I saw them across the street,
Uh-huh.
I probably would have. I probably
Would've
would
said
have.
something.
I probably would have.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
would have shouted out, been like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Well, I'm just saying, I'm glad, because I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, to your point, I'd probably say something before they even went in the house, like, who's that?
Well, and honestly, Julia lingered at that fucking door forever. I was like,
I think that's part of her
I was honestly waiting.
She seduced.
Seducing.
Yeah, her seduction.
I was kind of like, because we hadn't, up until this point, when she brings the guys in, we hadn't really seen her lead them in the front door like that. So when she's when she's, all like, and like touching his arm and shit.
She's gotten really good at it at this point.
Well,
right?
when she lets the guy in and she goes to shut the door and she kept like looking around, I was waiting for her to just see Kirsty. I was like, she's right here.
Well,
She's right there in the bush.
kind of me too, because I'm like, Kirsty doesn't seem like she's that far away.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure she's got a white shirt on. She's got big hair that's flying in the wind. Like, I feel like I would notice that.
Right. Exactly.
You know? So I kind of thought the same thing when I was watching it this time. It had been a minute since I saw it, and I was like, damn, does Julia see her out there?
Yeah,
And then
let
she
me
didn't,
just
and I was
preface
like,
all of my
oh.
conversation in this movie. I have not watched this movie in a very long time. So it wasn't necessarily a new set of eyes. I knew what was happening, but...
Yeah, you needed a refresher.
Right.
Yeah. No,
So some of that little stuff like that, I feel like watching it now, I was like, watching it, taking notes. You just kind of pick up on things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kirsty definitely doesn't fuck around in there. And then she sees Frank, right? And he says, what? Come to daddy?
Come to daddy.
Mm-hmm.
He's
So
very
gross.
sexual with his niece.
He is.
Like hitting on her.
Well, I think
he
at
said
one
you've
po-
changed or you've grown up.
Well, at one point,
Ugh.
I'm pretty sure he says that she's pretty or beautiful.
Oh, he calls her
something.
beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. And she is. Kirsty's
He's
a pretty
very
girl.
gross
But
with
that's
her.
your niece, so calm down, Frank.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think that
in-
mattered to him though. Even if he wouldn't have been skinless, I don't think that would have mattered.
in no world is it ever okay to say "come to daddy" to your niece.
No.
And he loved to say that to everyone. Though.
I don't think
Ugh,
it's okay for anybody to say come to daddy, like, to be quite honest.
No,
So gross.
I mean, time and place, but that ain't
Well,
it.
exactly. But not in the spare bedroom
with your niece.
with your niece while you've got a corpse on the ground that you just ate. Like, no, that's
And you don't have
no.
any skin on.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
disgusting.
wasn't the corpse wasn't even on the ground? Didn't he like walk out with the corpse?
Oh, I don't know.
He probably did.
Because
I
she
think.
saw it,
Yeah.
and then she saw him come out the door.
And then some chases ensue, and she
Yeah,
hides.
they do. But you know what? Good for her, because she grabs the box. Mm-hmm. And she's like...
She could tell that he's like, give that to me, or don't
Yes.
touch that, and she throws it out the window.
I do
Yes.
love that because I feel like she's smart.
She is very
And I
smart.
do-
She picks up on things really
I do
easily.
like that because she, as soon as she could tell that he needed that, and she was like, okay, well, here's my leverage. So
And she takes it. So you said she throws it out the window, right? Well, at that point, she leaves, but she picks it up. And then she just...
She's in shock at this point.
She's
like
exhausted,
She
y'all.
just saw her uncle skinless, tried to sleep with her, tried to kill her.
I guess her adrenaline's gone at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, and she just kind of passes out.
Although, can I just say, when she throws it out the window, what are the fucking odds
That she'd be able to find it?
it's literally going to be in front of the
That
door? Like, she runs out the front door and it's right there on the sidewalk.
She knows what she's doing.
yeah.
It's
I
Kirsty.
mean, I can only assume so.
She knew what she was doing. I thought it was weird, so that obviously she ends up in the hospital, and I can understand them being a little weary. Like, okay, is she okay? Has she been taking drugs? Like,
What's wrong?
'cause
Yeah.
I'm sure she was spouting out some nonsense, right? But I'm also like, they seem very aggressive with her. And I'm like, she didn't do anything wrong. Like, she can go whenever she wants. Like, why are you locking her in this hospital room?
I mean, it felt almost too...
Maybe they thought she was having a psychotic break, and it was like to protect herself.
But why wouldn't they call her parents?
Maybe because she's over 18.
Oh, I mean, I get it, but I still feel like regardless of your age, if you're in the hospital, like, they're going to try to find a next of kin or somebody to contact,
Yes,
right?
I do.
And I don't think they do that.
No, they were.
No, they just were waiting on the doctor to come in and talk to her or whatever.
And I don't like that they locked her in that room. I just thought, is she a prisoner or is she a patient? Like,
Oh, I mean, it
didn't
felt
like
very sketch to me, honestly. Like, even the nurse being in there and stuff, it just seemed like... maybe... At first, it almost seemed like maybe this hospital was in on something. But, obviously, that's not the case.
But they're not. Yeah. And then Kirsty plays with the puzzle box.
Well, yeah, because he sits it in front of her and he's like, maybe this will jog your memory or whatever.
It jogs something.
Well, my thing is like, I don't think she forgot anything to begin with. I think she's still thinking to herself, okay, what the fuck is happening?
Just happened, yeah.
I'd like to think that Kirsty's she could probably hold the world record for quickest Rubik's Cube solution. Because essentially, at the end of the day, all that cube is a fancy Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
And she figures it out real quick.
She's very smart.
Very quick.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, she is very smart.
She must have went to school in Shelbyville.
Definitely.
You know, the school systems there are just
It's
top
Well, she's,
notch.
she's like new out of college and
Yeah.
her brain's still,
She's savvy.
yeah.
God, I can't even do simple math anymore, much less a Rubik's Cube.
So when she figures the box out, that thing in the wall opens.
She opens
up.
the portal.
Yes.
I did think it was weird. And of course, I've seen some of the sequels too, but like the portal just comes out of nowhere, and I feel like nobody else knew that was going on in her hospital room.
Or felt it or heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because the whole wall opens up.
Yeah, it couldn't have been quiet.
I mean, I don't know what kind of soundproof they got going on in that hospital. Maybe she was in a
She was in a
psych ward.
padded
Hell, I
room.
don't know.
And then she goes in and meets, I'm going to call it a creature. It's actually called the engineer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called the engineer.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny, and I didn't mention this earlier, but earlier on when she's having a bad dream, because, you know, she mentions having a bad dream, but she hears a baby,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the same babies, like, crying. That's what it sounds like. But then, of course, it's not.
Oh, she does have that weird dream.
She does
with
have
the
a weird
feathers
dream.
are flying
and
everywhere.
I think maybe it's a little bit probably about her mother, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking it has something to do with that, but they don't really go into it that much. But you hear that baby crying, so that's the first thing I thought. Oh, okay, so this is like familiar to her because she's experienced this baby crying in her dreams.
Well, and I think that's part of what kind of pulls her into it, right?
Yeah, maybe
Or draws her like
further into the
to like the interest of
What?
going in.
What would you call? So you said it was called the Engineer. Mm-hmm. What a weird name.
Yeah.
It looked like the creature from Basket Case, but like grown
Longer.
up.
It was gross.
Yeah,
It was creepy.
It was weird. I don't even know how to explain it aside from literally looks
Its
like a
head
grown up.
was down. Its butt was up.
I was gonna say didn't it have like a long thing like out the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it had some sharp
It had
teeth,
like
right?
T-Rex arms.
It did. It did.
And it moved fast.
It did move fast. And regardless, it looked ridiculous, but like they did a good like whoever came up with that, I never in a million years would have been able to come up with an like
creature like that. Yeah.
yeah, and it almost makes me curious like how he explains it in the book.
Yeah.
Because obviously he wrote the book, he wrote the movie, he directed it. You know, he's got a creative team that's helping him come up with all this stuff. I'm just wondering, I would really like to read the book to see how some of this stuff is explained originally.
In college, I took a class that was like Gothic horror literature or something, and one of the books that we had to buy was his book. Not this
Hellbound
book,
Heart?
but it was like
Another one?
it was a compilation of
Okay.
like several
So
of
you've
his
read
things.
it?
I've not read this.
You had to read some other
We
stuff.
had to read some other stuff out of it, but
I would be very curious. Like, did you enjoy what you read of his?
yeah, I didn't mind it. I mean, it's very twisted, which I mean you can probably gather just from this. But I mean here we are doing a fucking horror podcast. Of course I enjoyed it.
Well, I would just be curious to see how his writing style is. You know, like as a writer versus seeing one of his movies.
Yeah.
But
So Kirsty makes it out of the wall, and that's where we meet the
Pinhead.
Cenobites.
the Cenobites.
I don't think they actually ever say they're Cenobites, but do they?
No, I think it's just implied.
It's implied they're Cenobites.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
we know what
she
they are.
definitely doesn't
And
know.
she's like, "Who are you?" And he says, "We're demons to some." Well, he says we're explorers of the further realms or something. We're demons to some,
Angels to
to
others.
others.
Who's he an angel to? That's what I want to know. Frank?
Frank.
Well, like part of it to me, I was just wondering about, maybe it's just all how you, in what way you want to like bring them to you or something.
Could be.
Like,
Yeah, because when Frank opens it, those chains come out. When she opens it,
It's like
it's a completely different experience.
They come out.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think whoever opens it, whatever your intentions are, it's going to be different.
Because, I mean, well, maybe that plays along with what you were saying with the baby. So, like, when she opened it, it obviously, the further realm maybe of her mind was her dream with the baby, da-da-da-da. And then, of course, with Frank, everything was, like,
About
basically S&M.
yes,
You know, the further reaches of that
and
stuff.
they just like take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, even though Frank was mutilated, like he definitely expressed like he liked it. Mm-hmm. You know,
But is their intention to kill you? Like,
well, that's what
I
I'm
think
not
it's
so sure
you're
about.
bordering that line between pleasure and pain. Like, are you actually
Right.
in pain, or is it?
well, I just don't understand because, like, they talk a lot about, like, nobody escapes us.
Yeah, I don't think
So-
they're actually dead.
So I just...
It might be like purgatory. It's not hell, but it's purgatory-esque. So you don't actually die.
I think for me, this is just one of those movies that I can't think too much about. Otherwise, I'll just sit and think like I don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But
Is this where
she's
someone put something in her mouth? Because you said there's a lot of mouth
yes,
stuff.
It's the Chatterer.
The Chatterer.
yeah. He
Cenobite.
puts his fingers in her mouth.
which he's literally... If I had to pick any of them, he's so terrifying to me.
He's gross.
Yeah.
And it's the way it is the chatter of his teeth and stuff that they do, and he's just so gross looking, and the way his mouth is like open. Oh, he was.
Yeah, because to be fair, like Pinhead himself, and even like the female Cenobite, like they're gross, but like they have a human face. Like they're not really.
Right.
Yeah, they're scary, but
Which side note? Sorry, side note. Apparently, the female Cenobite. Did you know like what her character name was before they just decided to call her female Cenobite?
No.
It was Deep Throat.
Oh my god.
Yes, that was what Clive Barker
her throat
wanted to.
opened up.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he had originally had like in his thing, and obviously they took it out.
Oh, I think
because
they should have left it.
Yeah.
I mean, in today's Hellraiser, they probably would.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think Pinhead, like, I don't think he was Pinhead. He was
No.
just, like, lead Cenobite or something, and he kind of accumulated that name.
Apparently, in the book, he is the priest,
Oh.
which
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll jump into that a little bit when we talk kind of towards the end of the movie, because I was interested to find that out based on some stuff that goes down at the end. But
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Kirsty is very smart because she uses Frank as a way out. Because obviously,
She realizes.
yeah, the cubes come from him. They've come from the like. It doesn't take, a brain.
But once again, she's
surgeon
smart.
to like put that together. But she does it quick enough to say, "I can take you to Frank.
Yeah.
He's escaped. I can take you to Frank," and they're okay with that.
Well, they don't believe her at first either.
Oh, well.
yeah, because he's
And
like,
they don't
he's
believe
like-
her at
he's like,
first.
you have to prove it to us, and
Yes.
then we'll maybe let you
Maybe.
go.
I think that just shows you how good of a final girl she is. I don't think many final girls would put two and two together like she does.
Well, I think that's easy, but I think in the moment you wouldn't think of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You'd just be terrified. But I think she's one of those girls like she can.
She's quick on her feet.
Yeah, she's quick on her feet, but she like remains calm.
Yes.
Instead of, oh fuck, what am I? Like I would probably be like that, run around.
Oh, I mean, I would just be terrified. They'd
Me
kill
too.
me.
I wouldn't be able to think. I'd be like,
I wouldn't be able to think that.
I'd probably just stand there. Yeah, put your fingers in my mouth. I give up.
yeah.
I don't know what you want me to do.
So this brings us to our final act.
Oh.
So, Kirsty returns to her father's house. She finds her father, I'm doing air quotes, still alive and says they must leave, that Frank is trying to kill him. She soon discovers that her father is actually Frank wearing her dad's skin. While being approached by Frank with a knife, Frank stabs and kills Julia. Kirsty runs to the attic and is confronted by Frank. When he is about to kill her, the Cenobites and the hooked chains show up and eventually tear Frank apart. The Cenobites go back on their deal and try to take Kirsty. She manages to start closing the puzzle box, and with each move, a different Cenobite is taken back to their realm. The movie ends with her boyfriend helping her escape and the house being destroyed. I'm going to stop there, and then I'll do the very, very end.
Okay. Well, don't forget, they're being chased by the engineer, too, at the end, right?
Yes, when they open
when he shows
the door.
Up. Yeah.
Yes.
You think it's good, and then the engineer's there. I will say this. To be as smart as Kirsty is throughout the rest of the movie...
All that shit... You
didn't notice that your dad was like bleeding from behind the ears and the scalp, and he was bloody
Goopy.
pretty much all over. Like, you didn't think that was weird, right?
She should have, because she was on top of everything up to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was what I thought.
When she realizes that it's Frank when he says his line, though, doesn't she? When he says, "Come to daddy."
Yes.
Yeah, that's when it like clicks.
And then she's like, "Oh, fuck."
Yeah. That's the one thing about Kirsty. I was like, girl, it literally looks like he took your dad's face off and just laid it on top of it. It's like you can see all the blood behind his
this is some
come
Texas
on, girl,
Chainsaw Massacre.
It ain't all good in the hood.
Also, just thinking about it, once again, over analyzing the scene. Do you think that this was like maybe the whole thing all along was that Frank was a little jealous of Larry's life? I mean, obviously.
Probably. They don't ever say what Larry does, but I get the feeling that he's probably done pretty well for himself. And I think they do that too by like...
Obviously, he has Julia.
Yeah, well, and they're just picking up and like, it's no big deal. Like, we're just going to take, we're going to move into this house. And then when they have the dinner party even, I don't want to say it's fancy, but it seems like their friends that are there are like educated, maybe wealthy people as well. So I feel like, I don't know if they ever mention what he does, but I don't know. For some reason in my head, I think Larry's a doctor.
Something. He's
Like,
stable. There's stability where Frank
And I just
doesn't have that.
I guess the only reason I even thought that was because I thought the whole point of this entire thing was that Frank was going to be Frank again. So why all of a sudden did we jump to Frank's going to have Larry's body now? Like,
Well, I almost think that maybe it's because Frank hadn't fully developed yet. And obviously, I don't know if maybe they thought Kirsty was going to come back, but like he almost put it on as a disguise for now until he reformed, I guess. That's just what I thought.
I mean, maybe
she's going to come back with the cops or something. And
Yeah. Well, because obviously they know she's got the cube,
she's
right?
Yeah.
She saw Julia kill that. She knows Julia killed that man and lured him into the house. She knows what's going on.
well, maybe Frank's final kill was going to be Kirsty.
I mean, could
Could've
be.
been.
So, did Julia deserve that stab?
Oh, Frank doesn't care. He doesn't care about anyone but himself.
Well, that's not what I asked. I asked, do you think Julia deserved it?
I don't know. That's a loaded question. Yeah, I guess maybe because she lured people up there, but she trusted Frank, so I don't know if she did in that regard.
I don't think that Julia deserved to die. I think that she was obviously like acting out of her love for Frank, but she just made some really bad choices along the way.
She made some really bad choices, but I think she deserved it. You're taking some totally innocent men home so Frank can have some dinner, and she's clearly not upset that Larry's gone. Clearly not upset at all. I just feel like if I were Kirsty, I'd be like, yeah, stab the bitch. I'm done. Like...
Do you think he meant to stab her? I felt like it was an accident at that point.
I didn't actually thought that he did it on purpose.
See, I thought it was an accident too, but then it was kind of like, well, whatever. I was only using her.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I felt like by then I just don't... I mean, I don't necessarily have any explanation as to why I thought it, I guess, but I just didn't...
Well, I just thought at that point, like, yeah, no big deal to him, because he's, he could go out and get his own people if he wanted to turn back into Frank, because now he's got his little disguise on, and
Frank only
even
cared
like
about
you
Frank.
said, he was probably planning, well, I got Julia, I can feed on her, and then I'll just kill Kirsty too, and then maybe by the time, I'm done doing whatever he does.
Well, because, didn't he... he even put his fingers, in her, right? In Julia?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To
he
try
did.
to, well, he did suck some of her out, I guess.
You
her
can
face
see it.
changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really the only time you see that in the because again, he wouldn't let her watch, so that's kind of the first time you see it. But you can kind of see it's like he's sucking the life out of her. Is what it looks like. She kind of wilts away. She looks like a raisin
She does.
or a prune. Looks like she's in the been in
California
the
raisin.
bathtub for a really long time.
But then we go back up to...
Kirsty runs up to the, I call it an attic.
It
Well,
does look like
It does
an
feel
attic.
like an attic. The only reason I say it's really not an attic is because when you come out the door, there's another room.
Yeah.
Over it. You know what I'm saying? But yes, attic.
And she finds her dad's skinless body.
Poor Larry.
He didn't deserve any of that.
Larry was a really good guy. He was good to Julia. He never said anything out of line to her. He treated her like a queen, I felt like. He was a really good dad to Kirsty. Didn't deserve that.
No, he did not. I completely agree. And then Frank makes his way in there and is about to kill her.
Mm-hmm. And the Cenobites come.
And the Cenobites come. And
Yeah, Kirsty held up her part of the bargain.
She did.
She said, I'm going to take you to him. And she takes him. And then that's when we finally see what Frank went through in the beginning, right?
Yes.
We see the chains coming out. Only this time he's not as excited.
No, he's not
No.
happy about any of this.
And do they ever, show any sort of... do they ever question that it's Larry? And not the
He
Frank that
says
they remember?
something- I thought he said something where he said he was Frank or something.
I just couldn't remember if,
I don't
they...
remember. I just thought maybe they knew.
That's kind of what I was like. I couldn't tell if they just kind of knew that this was Frank,
Yeah.
but in disguise or something.
Well, no, wait a minute. I think Kirsty actually says he killed my dad.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
Because
there's
her
the
dad's
proof.
body's still laying there.
Yeah.
And I think she says he killed her dad.
Yes.
So that kind of confirms, yes, that is actually Frank.
Well, look, when all these chains and hooks start going into him, it couldn't have taken much for that body to fall apart.
No.
I mean, wouldn't you think that one hook to the face would have just making the whole thing just fall off?
Yeah, I mean, his face is on pretty good.
Yeah.
Lots of glue.
What do we think about that? I mean, because that's probably one of the more iconic scenes in this movie.
Where it's pulling him and
pulling
his tongue's
face.
kind
Yeah,
of...
what do you think about that?
I mean,
I think it's cool.
it is. It's cool for what it is. I mean, it's obviously very gross.
I had a problem with the hooks going into the skin. That did not look like skin at all to me. Obviously, I get it. That's supposed to be. But I'm just saying the other practical effects are so good. I was like, that's what you gave me for the hook going to the
It
skin.
almost looked like it was going into foam or something.
Yeah, too easily, right?
Yeah.
But it's an iconic scene in the horror realm.
And then we get, I think, another famous line. Jesus
Jesus
wept.
wept.
And then he gets torn apart.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into... Because when that happens, I was like, Jesus wept. And then when I read that Clive Barker originally wanted it to be the... Pinhead's character is the priest, I was like, huh. I just wasn't sure, where this, was all kind of coming from. Mm-hmm. When in this movie did I ever get, religious references?
Well, there is in
undertones?
there is in the beginning. There's a lot of religious, I think, photos and statues
symbology, yeah.
in the beginning. Yeah, when they come into the house for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh,
I
there
think
is
even in,
Oh, yeah, the statue
Because
in the
when-
and
window.
even when they're cleaning, I
It's
think
outside.
on moving day they move it all outside.
Yes.
So there is a lot of that in there. But aside from that, I mean, that's really it.
Yeah.
Other
know.
than him saying, some think we're demons, some think we're angels, which would be a religious
Yeah.
reference.
And of course, I mean, I guess some people would say that opening the box is essentially opening a portal to hell. Like, some people would just say that.
Well, and Kirsty, before she sends them back, as she's playing with the Rubik's Cube, she says, go to hell.
Yeah.
You know? And then they all start disappearing, I guess.
Well, the Cenobites have gone back on their deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder why.
Because they don't care, I guess.
I just felt like that was, like, we made a deal, bitch.
Right? That female one was coming for her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, shit, they all kind of were, except for the fat one was going for Steve, right?
Yes.
First of all, that's when Steve shows up, and I thought, Steve,
We've already...
a minute
the
too
movie's
late.
over.
She don't need your damn help.
Right?
She don't need your damn help.
She's done...
What are you
she's
even doing
capable.
here? I mean, by the time he's coming, the whole goddamn house is about to fall down. Like,
Literally.
Where you been, Steve? I could have used you, damn, 2 days ago.
So Kirsty finds the Lamentation configuration in bed with Julia. Julia's holding it.
Just call it what it is. It's a Rubik's Cube.
She finds a Rubik's Cube, and she starts putting it back together. And that's how she realizes how she can get rid of the Cenobites.
I just thought it was funny because when she was doing it, I thought, how many like, how does that work? Like, you solve one puzzle and then it, like, changes and you got to do it again? Because she did it over and over and over.
They got Julia up in that bed real quick.
Yes, they did.
I mean...
And she had chains hooked up to her, too.
Oh, yeah, she was fucked up, too.
Yeah.
Like, she got hers. Probably wasn't very pleasant. I mean, she couldn't feel anything at that point. She was done.
Yes.
All this so Julia could get a good fuck. And she didn't even get it.
Nope.
Never.
Like...
She did get, no, she did. I was going to say, no, at one point, I think he does kind of, like, play with her mouth a little bit.
They do kiss when he's skinless.
Yeah, and it's gross. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, y'all.
So Kirsty starts closing the puzzle box. All the Cenobites start getting put away. Like you said, Keith, Steve shows up at that point. They open the door to go out. The engineer is outside the front door.
Doesn't the engineer kind of look like something, though, from, like, a Resident Evil
It does.
video
Yeah.
game? Like, it was very Resident Evil to me.
Yes, it's very gross. And then she sends that back, and they get out of the house as it's falling apart, on fire, or whatever.
And we see the homeless man again.
And then that brings us into the movie.
Yeah, she throws the cube into the fire. And then I'm just automatically thinking to like, if it were me and I had that cube, like, I mean, that's from hell. I don't think it's going to burn. Like, maybe you should, like, hide it away somewhere.
Bury it.
And it doesn't. And then the gross homeless man turns into, like, a skeleton dragon with wings.
A demon.
A demon. Okay, well, that's easier. A demon.
And flies off.
And picks it up and flies off. Let me ask you this, because I've only ever seen the sequel one time, and I was probably cross-stitching while I watched it, so I don't remember much of it. Does that come back up?
No.
It doesn't come back up?
No.
Okay. Well, you don't have to, like, explain it, because I'll eventually watch it again.
Yeah, I'm going to, especially after watching this for the purposes of the podcast, I'm like, okay, I need to, like, revisit
The whole
some
series.
of these. Yeah.
Well, the movie then actually ends with the box being resold in that
it
Moroccan
does,
market
yes,
again. So
it
it's
does.
like just
It keeps going.
yes.
So my whole thing was with the homeless man, because you really only see him 3 times.
Yes.
See him at the beginning.
You see him in the pet shop.
When Steve and Kirsty are kind of making out, right?
Yep.
You see him at the pet shop, and then again at the end. So that's really the only time you see him. So then I'm thinking, was this his job to just watch this
so.
cube the entire time and make sure that it got back into the hands of the original dealer?
I think it was.
Well, clearly this homeless man is somewhat of a shapeshifter, right? Who's to say that he's not the dealer?
Oh, he could be. That's true.
That's a good
I
point.
didn't even think about that.
I didn't either.
I literally just thought about it sitting here.
I just thought, who is this dragon skeleton? What's happening?
Yeah, because, like, it's funny to me because I literally just sitting here thinking, I was like, well, that's kind of funny because he obviously turned into this dragon thing, flew off, and then it, like, sucks into, like, the cube and we see like that weird circle, looks like the scene that we're watching, and then it's the same speech that he gave in the beginning of the movie. So I'm kind of like,
maybe.
I think you're right.
I think you could be onto something, Mikey.
Yes.
Interesting. Who's to say that comes up in a sequel? I'd have to watch it.
Well, I've watched some of like the later sequels because they don't really have anything to do with the first movie, and some of them are a little fucking ridiculous, I have to say.
I haven't watched the reboot. I will say that.
Oh, we did watch the reboot.
We did, yeah.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't.
Well, does it stick
bad.
with this premise? Or does it...
No, it definitely is a little different.
It's a little... No, I think the premise of, like, the Cenobites showing up and stuff, like, all of that is pretty much the same, but the storyline behind the people is a lot different. Yeah.
Okay. I need to just watch it. I just haven't yet.
I don't think it's super long, is it? I think it's
I just know a lot of people thought that she did a great job as Pinhead.
She did.
Yeah, she did do good. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, too. I don't know. Do I prefer the original? Yeah, I actually do prefer the original quite a bit more.
Yeah.
But it was a hell of a better installment than that Texas Chainsaw Massacre we got on Netflix.
Oh, God.
That's all I'll say about that.
But you can listen to our last episode of the last season.
Or don't, y'all. It's not a good movie. Does everybody know what time it is?
Michael?
No, what time is it? 6:30?
It's time for you to get excited about this, is what time it is.
Is it, though? Because are we going to we just skipping over Horror Fried Hotties?
Oh, damn.
You get a few minutes break, Michael. Don't stress it.
Damn, I forgot all about Horror Fried Hotties. Okay. So, go ahead.
All right, well, Hellraiser Hotties.
I'm sexy, I'm cute, I'm popular to boot.
Who, obviously, I know who.
Look, let's be real.
There's only one.
It's Frank.
Yeah.
Well, Frank in the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
It's Frank. But if I had to give a runner-up, I think Kirsty's really pretty. Like, really pretty. And honestly, Julia kind of is, too. Like, I hate her, but, like, she's real posh. So, but Frank. Right?
Kirsty
for you?
Yeah.
There was something, again, Julia I think is terrible, does some terrible things, but she's very posh. She's very well put together. So there's something like, I don't find her sexy, but there's something sexy about her.
Yeah.
Clearly those delivery men did.
Well,
or the movers.
honey, everybody did. She was able to get every Tom, Dick, and Harry at the house for Frank to eat. So she had something going on for her, didn't she?
Product of the time, I guess.
It's those cigarettes, the way she smoked those cigarettes.
All these
sensual.
80s movies
And
with
put it
these.
out on those hardwood floors in the beginning of the movie.
Well, who cares?
I care. That would have pissed me off.
It's the 80s, Michael. I think that's why the house burned down in the end. She had dropped a cigarette and then eventually just caught the whole house on fire.
Probably.
And he thought, oh shit, well, Cenobites are here. House is going up in flames because Julia's cigarette. She left a lasting impression on that house.
Now, Michael, are you ready?
Ooh, Michael.
Yes, I'm so ready.
So ready for Horror Fried Theater.
I'm going to need a lot of dramatic.
Michael, you've had a drink, so it's not like you're over there clean sober.
It's worn off.
Cold stone sober, whatever.
It's worn off.
Clean sober.
So this scene is the scene where the Cenobites come, and I'm just gonna need a lot of really dramatic acting from all of us in this.
Well,
I don't
Keith
think
won't
I'm
have a
gonna have-
problem with that.
I don't think I'm going to have any.
And in true favorite horror girl or final girl fashion, Michael, you're gonna play Kirsty.
Aw.
So sweet.
Keith, you are Pinhead.
Oh. Yes.
And and then I'm actually gonna be the other two. So
I love how you got female Cenobite, Cenobite and fat Cenobite.
There's a shit ton of like narration on this, so obviously I'm just gonna do that, and then I'm gonna try real hard to be, well,
That is a lot of
There's a
narration.
lot of
it is.
actions.
Well, because it basically describes the entire thing with Kirsty in the portal, so
Okay.
Yeah, the first 2 pages are all narration.
yeah. So see, you're not getting. You
So
don't have
put
a-
on that narrator voice.
Yeah, put on a happy face. Sorry, we watched Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead the other day.
Come on, clown dogs.
But yeah, so are we ready?
Honey, I stay ready so I don't got to get ready.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Michael's eating crickets over there.
Grasshoppers.
Crickets and grasshoppers.
All right. Go for it, Gangrene. Take us away.
Greetings, maniacs and madmen. This is Dr. Gangrene, physician of fright and Nashville horror host. Coming up next is everyone's favorite segment, Horror Fried Theater. Grab your popcorn and refreshments, pull up a slab, and get ready for the madness.
Kirsty has opened more of the box. Light pours out of the box. She drops it, shocked. She looks up. In the wall, opposite the end of her bed, a very narrow doorway has simply opened in the wall. Leaving the box on the bed, she gets up and goes to the gap. She stands at the doorway. Kirsty stares down the corridor, which is lit brightly in some places, and is absolutely dark in others, not certain of whether to venture down it or not. She steps into the corridor. The walls rise into darkness on either side of her. Their surface is like the interior of a pyramid, pitted with age and rotting away. Once she glances back towards the hospital room to reassure herself that it's still there. It is, though it's no more than a sliver of light at the far end of the passageway. She advances a few more paces. The atmosphere is growing denser. Smoke thickens the air. Ahead, the smoke clears and the light brightens, and we see a creature. The engineer. Hanging in the space between the walls. It's in silhouette against the light, but we can see enough to know that it resembles no earthly animal. Its vast black limbs hold it suspended above the corridor, clinging to the stone. Its front limbs, vestigial by comparison, hanging down from beneath its vast head. Its tail is curled over its back. Kirsty's expression registers this horror. The engineer moves into the light. Its irises narrow to slits. From the tail, a vast sting, oozing pus, like venom, glides into view. And then it comes at her, advancing along the corridor by bracing its legs against the walls. Its breath is a growl in its belly, until it moves into darkness when all sound from it ceases, only to erupt again as it finds the light. Kirsty turns and starts to run. It comes after her at speed. Darkness, light, roars in silence. Its jaws spill its thick saliva. Its eyes gleam. Kirsty runs blindly down the corridor, back towards the safety of the hospital room, but it's very close on her heels, lingering. As she comes within a few yards of the room, it closes on her. She flings herself through the door with the engineer's breath on her back and turns. The doorway is gone. The wall is sealed. She approaches the wall. The engineer scratches on the other side. She looks around. She's not alone. Standing across the room from her, lit by a strange phosphorescence that has no visible source, are 4 extraordinary figures. They are Cenobites. Each of them is horribly mutilated by systems of hooks and pins. The garments they wear are elaborately constructed to marry with their flesh, laced through skin in places, hooked into bone. The leader of this quartet has pins driven into his head at inch intervals. At his side, a woman whose neck is pinned open like a vivisection specimen. Accompanying them is a creature whose mouth is wired into a gaping rectangle, the exposed teeth sharpened to points, and a fat, sweating monster whose eyes are covered by dark glasses. When the lead Cenobite speaks, we recognize the voice as that of the creature from the beginning of the film. Kirsty stares in amazement.
Where the hell did you come from?
The Cenobite gestures. The box is lying on the bed.
The box. You opened it. We came.
It's just a puzzle box.
It's a means to summon us. It's called the Lament Configuration.
Who are you?
Cenobites. Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some. Angels to others.
Well, I didn't mean to open that thing. You can go back wherever you came from.
We can't. Not alone. At this, the creature with the wired open jaw chatters like a mad monkey.
This isn't for real.
You solved the box. We came. Now you must come with us. Taste our pleasures.
The chattering Cenobite steps towards her.
Don't touch me. Let me alone, will you?
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
The chatterer comes for her. As it does so, desperation brings a plan to Kirsty's head.
Wait.
He stops.
No time for argument.
You did this before, right?
Many times.
To a man called Frank Cotton?
Oh, yes.
But he escaped you.
Nobody escapes us.
He did. I've seen him.
Impossible.
I swear it, he's alive. He doesn't look much like Frank Cotton anymore, but it's him.
Suppose he had slipped us. What significance has that?
I could lead you right to him. You could take him back to hell instead of me.
Perhaps we'd prefer you.
I want to hear him confess himself. Then maybe.
But if you cheat us,
we'll tear your soul apart.
End scene.
So this is Dr. Gangrene saying goodbye and thanks for joining us here at Horror Fried Theater. See you on the next episode of the Horror Fried Podcast, and be sure and join me every Saturday night for Dr. Gangrene Sanitarium, Saturdays at 9 p.m. on Nashville's NECAT Channel 9 and simulcast on the NECAT Roku channel and drgangrene.com. And as always, remember to stay mad.
That was actually good.
It was fun.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, man. I don't know if I could do that voice much more. But
I wanted to chuckle every time you did it. 'Cause you did it so slow, but it was so good. Because she's like,
That's how she
struggles to talk, I feel like. So that was pretty much on point.
that comes from many years of doing the voice of Voldemort in Harry Potter.
Oh.
That's like,
Harry Potter.
Wouldn't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
It's time for our final finger-licking thoughts, y'all, here at Horror Fried. We rate our films using the heat scale of a Nashville delicacy, hot chicken, on a scale of 1 to 5, no spice, mild, medium, hot, and Nashville hot. Mike, tell me what you think.
Oh.
Or I can go to Michael first.
No, it's fine. I can do this. So you just want my rating?
Yes, Mike, that's the part of the podcast we're on, the
Okay,
rating.
and the finger licking thoughts. Got it. I would give this a solid 4 out of 5. Like, for sure. I mean, it's iconic in so many ways, and it does, like, I just feel like it does what it should. I enjoy the whole thing, so I don't really have any complaints about it, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily know what they could have done different to make me get a 5.
Yeah.
But a 4. That's where I'm at.
More frank in human form?
Yeah, or the
Naked?
same actor that played him in the beginning, playing him when he's gross.
Yeah, but I don't want to see that Frank. You know what I mean? I want to see, like, hot Frank. So I don't
Yeah.
know that it would have made a difference. Anyway.
No. Yeah, 4.
4. Michael?
I give it a 4 as well.
Oh.
I love Hellraiser. I love everything about it. I think the practical effects are great. Obviously, I love Ashley Laurence, who plays Kirsty Cotton. And I also love Clare Higgins, who plays Julie. I think she does an amazing job as well.
Does Ashley do cons?
She has. I haven't seen her in a while. I'd love to meet her. Claire was supposed to do Days of the Dead Las Vegas, but canceled. Because I'd meet all of them.
I was going to say, I would for sure meet Ashley if she showed up at one.
She looks amazing. Have you seen pictures of her? She looks amazing.
I know
she's
Doug Bradley
so
does, because I've met him.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard he's really nice. He's really nice to his fans. Like, he's kind of quiet, but he's...
I was about to say, he is nice, like, and he will talk to you if you, like, talk to him, but he is pretty quiet. Like, it's like he doesn't want to start, like, a a conversation, but he'll
Yeah.
talk to you.
Well, a lot of the celebrities you meet at cons too, I feel like a lot of people forget these are just regular people, and some of them aren't super comfortable or
They're not all Felissa
talking to a lot of
Rose.
people or like outspoken. Yeah, because you're gonna have people like Felissa that's super warm and welcoming and wants to talk and engage, and then you have some that, while they're excited to meet you, like they're maybe a little more awkward or maybe they're a little shy. Like people don't understand that, and I always hate. I'm going off on a tangent here, but I always hate when I'm looking at some of the groups I'm a part of on Facebook, and people will say, "Oh, so and so wasn't very nice. They were kind of cold," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you also have to make like, how did you approach them? Did you approach them? Oh my god!"
Right.
Like I never do that.
Did you fangirl?
Yeah, and I can honestly say that I've had some really, 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 really great experiences with some actors that other people have.
100%. 100% agree with that.
You know, like, but again, I'm also, I feel like I probably don't paint myself as this, but I'm really more of an introvert. And especially at these conventions when I meet people, I'm, like, I don't want to come across like that, like, I'm very happy to meet you, but I'm also not going to scream in your face. Like, anyway, tangent over.
I'm with you. I would love to meet Ashley Laurence.
She looks exactly the same.
She looks so good.
She's not aged.
and she's
beautiful.
a painter. She's a very good painter too.
Can you buy her? Like, does she sell prints or
I
anything,
don't
or is
know.
it just like original?
I think she sells it, but it's
Like
all
just-
oil. She does oil paints.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them do online signings because I'm pretty sure CPA did one maybe a year or so ago, where a lot of the actors from Hellraiser did signings. I know Clare Higgins was one of them, and I think maybe a few of the other ones were too. But I mean, it's been a while. I can't remember.
I would
but-
say it for people that like this movie. They listen to this. They like this movie. You should check out Hellraiser 2 because I think it's really
Isn't
good.
it called
too.
Hellbound?
Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Yeah.
Well, and it's the only one that really follows the original story, right? Because after that, it kind of.
Veers off.
Yeah.
Because Kirsty's back, Claire's back, Frank's back.
Oh, God, maybe I haven't seen the second
I was about to
one.
say, I don't remember any of that.
Maybe
So
I don't
maybe-
remember. Now, I have, I've watched some of the newer sequels, and some of them.
They're pretty awful.
I was going to say one of the ones I watched was really hard to get through, but there was one that I liked, and it was the nightclub owner. We watched that one, Michael.
We did watch
but it
that
was
one.
like,
What
I don't
one
remember
was
which one
that?
it was, but it was like early 90s.
Because Adam Scott was in it.
Yes, but it was like a nightclub
Yes.
owner, and he was pretty much like. So you know what okay? So again, getting off subject here, but you know how in the movie, you keep seeing that one like wooden pillar, and it has all these like different body parts and flesh and stuff attached
yeah.
to it. Well, he's got a statue that almost looks like
like it.
that, but Pinhead's face is in it, and he's essentially sacrificing people to Pinhead.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a douchey guy and brings people home to sleep with. Anyways, not a great movie, but it was fun. It was fun to watch.
I mean, I'm going to go back and watch these.
Hellbound.
I feel like Hellraiser, the first two, I don't remember what we watched it on, but I know like a lot of those later sequels are on Tubi, I'm pretty sure.
HBO.
HBO
Max
HBO
right now.
has them all on there.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
So your rating.
I struggled with it for a little bit because I'll be completely honest.
I've heard you say you don't like this movie before.
When I originally watched it, I was like, ugh, that was so fucking stupid. I don't understand it. But having watched it a few times since then, I definitely appreciate it a lot more. I have more fun watching it than I did originally. I don't know that I'd go with a 4, but I think I would feel comfortable giving it like a solid 3.75. Me and my fucking rating. But I would give it a 3.75. I do have a lot more fun watching it now than, again, when I originally did. I do love the final girl in this one. I think she's really smart, except for when she can't figure out that her dad's not her dad. Julia's great. I think Doug Bradley does a great job. All the Cenobites really do a great job. I mean, they're all creepy as hell. And I feel like even the ones that don't even say much, like the Chatterer or
The fat one.
Cenobite, I don't know what his name is. Even though they don't have much dialogue, they really make a presence. For them. I think about like people like Kane Hodder in a Jason mask. Like, people like him so much as Jason just because of the way he moves and carries himself in that role. And, like, I feel the same way about these people that play the Cenobites. Like, even though, for the most part, they've got a smaller role compared to Pinhead, like, they still really make their presence known.
Well, one of the things that I had read up on was talking about, like, people presented, like, I guess studios and stuff, when Clive Barker presented this movie to them, they wanted Pinhead to be either like Freddy and be cracking jokes, or they wanted him to be like Jason and be quiet. And Clive Barker was like, that's not my Pinhead, or that's not my character, because he's not Pinhead in his story. But he was like, he wanted his person to be smart and like, and like almost intimidatingly smart and very controlled. And I mean,
he's calling the shots.
It's completely effective. I mean, because I think that he does a great job.
Yeah, and when you watch it, I think to myself, well, in a past life, like, I don't know what, Pinhead was before all this, but he was obviously a very well-educated person.
Well, you find out in the second
Scholarly. Oh, you do?
See, I need to just...
Maybe we should have a movie night after we finish recording. I mean, what else are we going to do on a Saturday?
Hellraiser and hot chicken.
Hell yeah! Thank you all so much for joining us. If you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, and rate the Horror Fried podcast, and catch up on all our previous episodes on your favorite streaming service. Links are available on our Instagram page. Once again, we'd like to thank our friend Dr. Gangrene for hosting Horror Fried Theater this season. Y'all can find him on Instagram, YouTube, and at his website, drgangrene.com. Okie dokie, you guys, it's time to swap spit and hit the road. Until next time, remember, we will tear your souls apart.
Come to daddy.
Gross. Bye.
Bye.
Hasta luego.
Come to daddy.